Let's go. How's it going, everybody? This is Dan Gunsberg, aka Gunny Hero, aka Gunny Hxro. Uh, this is my first time actually hosting Deltafy, so bear with me. My wife, if she saw this, would be like, "Are you fucking crazy? We're letting your voice lead this thing," but we're gonna do it, and we're gonna go with it and see what happens today. On my let's see, on my stage right, I got co-founder from Hxro, Rob Levy. He's at Robbie Levy on Twitter. And on my left, we have Ice Bagz, founder of Kanpai Pandas. Are you founder or are you
you co-founder? I mean, might as well call me that.
He's the figurehead. He is the guy that leads the Pied. He's the Pied Piper of PP Decks and Kanpai Pandas, and we're gonna spend the day today diving into Kanpai Pandas a little bit and learning a little bit more about Ice Bagz and just getting some views of some really good-looking guys over 40. It's probably the best-looking trio of boomers I think I've seen.
We are representing here.
Yes.
We're representing here.
I wouldn't fuck with this line up here. This is pretty good. So Ice Bagz, thanks for coming, and let's hop right into it a little bit. I was a day one Kanpai Pandas mentor, and have watched the community grow. The way that I kind of see it is and having a chance to know you prior to Kanpai Pandas. To me, it feels like you're getting this kind of like unlock into your world, and it's almost like becoming a lifestyle type of brand and NFT, and I want to dive into that a little bit. And I think you've talked about your background probably at least 1,000 times now. I think pretty much anybody who's tuning in probably knows you at this point. But let's dive into Pandas and what attracted you initially, and let's talk about I'm gonna let you go for a little bit on where it is today, where it's going, and then we'll go from there.
For sure. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess it is a little bit of like a dive into, my life, my lifestyle, I guess you would say. Because, I made money, several years ago, enough that I was comfortable in the traditional business world, and then got into crypto in 2018, made some more money, over that, 5-year period, and then took over this project. What was it? About April of last year. It was pretty much a dead mint. The thing was, spiraling down very quickly. In these markets, you're aware if like something doesn't mint out in, a week or a few days, like it's pretty much toast.
Yep.
When I took this thing over, it was dying quickly. It took us 7 months to mint out. So that's probably like one of the bigger stories, I would say, is nobody, I don't think, has survived a 7-month mint as far as I know. And it was, dead bear market. We were Omni-chain. So we were minting on like, Phantom and AVAX and Optimism and all these chains that like really nobody uses. And so it was like a learning experience for a lot of people, right? To bridge over and move funds and then, obviously move the NFT after the fact. So it was a pretty bad learning experience to try to put on people in the middle of a bear market where nobody wanted to touch an NFT. But I said, fuck it. Once I slapped my name on it, essentially, I just had to go, right? Like I was like pot committed at that point. Maybe it wasn't the best decision, early on to do that, but it is what it is. And that's the way I look at myself. I'm like, I've got credibility. I've got a brand behind me. And I wouldn't even say a brand. I've just got a reputation behind me. And, I like to do the right thing. I've always done that in my business experiences with my friends, my family, whatever it may be. So I wasn't going to treat this any differently. And so, when this dead mint happened, I took over. I ended up pulling like $600K out of my own pocket because we had no mint funds. We had to do something. And we took this like in real life experience, event based NFT deal is what we started with. And so we rented or we leased a spot at Allegiant where the Raiders play in Vegas for like 15 years. And so it was like twofold, right? It was one, A, this isn't a fucking rug. I put my own money in it. And B, we're here to stay because we're talking about a 15-year deal. So either this thing succeeds and we're successful, or I'm going to be a huge fucking Raiders fan and I don't even like the Raiders, right? Because I'm going to be going to a lot of games if this thing, you know, plummets. So we did that first, you know, put our own money into it through several parties, did that type of thing, and then built this essentially like exclusive membership pass. And that's the beautiful thing about Web3, right? Like us guys, we know we've been around the block. We're in our 40s. Like we've probably all been parts of golf clubs and golf memberships and other things like that. And the thing about Web2 versus Web3 is like, you know, I've been part of several different golf clubs, right? You pay this huge initiation fee. On top of that, you're paying a monthly fee. Then you're paying, you know, cart fees and on and on and on and beverages and it just never ends. And then when you walk away, they're like, fuck you, essentially. You know, you don't own anything, right? Like,
Totally.
yeah, just go to the next club and do the same thing. And we've done
the
that.
Special assessment. We all know.
Right, 100%. It's just over and over and over again. You know, we've all done it. So, and it is what it is. To me, it's like the cost of doing business, the cost of having fun, right? Like it's part of it. But with Web3 and like the way that you can build this onto an NFT, it's so great because you can have as much fun as you want for as long as you want. And whenever you want out, you just sell it to somebody else, right? And so there's something beautiful about that. And there's just this market there where you can sell it instantaneously. And I just love that portion of Web3, especially for an NFT project. And then, of course, we've gone, you know, much further down the road from where we started to where we are, you know, and I think that's part of like any NFT project is you start out down one path. And this is any business, not just an NFT project, but you start down one path and then you start to see other avenues, right? You start to see other lanes of like, okay, well, here's a potential, you know, great growth, revenue source. Here's another vertical that you could potentially go down. So we've gotten into, you know, apparel pretty heavy. We're about to get into media really, really heavy. That's going to be probably announced in the next couple of weeks. We've got some like big podcasts on deck and things like that. That's going to get a lot of eyeballs outside of not necessarily just in Web3, but outside of Web3 as well. But that's one of my things is like, we're all pissing in this really small pool in Web3, especially when it comes to NFTs, right? Crypto is a much larger pool. You can tell just by the meme coins recently, right? You got a lot more users that are willing to invest in crypto tokens versus NFTs. How can we get these NFTs and these brands that are tied to these NFTs out to the masses? And that's what I'm working on building, because this is not a small play for me. This is not just oh yeah, let's just have a successful NFT project that doesn't die in the next 18 to 24 months, which seems to be a lot of the NFT projects. It's like, let's just try to stay afloat as long as we can. My thing is like, if I'm going to do this and I'm going to spend 7 days a week on this, which I am, like, I want this fucking thing to be huge, and I want it to last longer than I do. I want it to have value for our holders, you know, down the road. I want to be able to implement, you know, a lot of cool features. And we've done that. Like we provide a lot of great experiences already, but I could see in like 2 years from now that everything is just, you know, 10X is crazy, 10X is fun, et cetera. Because this is, you know, just if you're just looking at the Web2 aspect of it, right? Like it's more of a bull market thing, or it's more of a thing like for guys like us that have a little money and can afford to go to football games and go to concerts and go to UFC events whenever we want to, right? But that's not the large majority of Web3 people. But it's going to be one hell of a fun fucking thing when it's a bull market and everybody has the opportunity to go and sit in these private suites and party in Vegas for the weekend, et cetera.
You know, it's funny. The Kentucky Derby this past weekend, I think is it Madge? Was that the name of the horse that wasn't it fractionally owned? It gave me this vibe. It made me actually think about Kanpai Pandas, and they were interviewing the owners like a couple hours before the Derby went off, and one of the interviews was with like 60 people that all had shown up who had fraction. It kind of gave me that same vibe with it made me think of KPs a little bit. It also makes me think, you know, from a business aspect, which is obviously you have, you know, tons of business experience and very strong acumen there. The creation of a lifestyle brand. And, you know, like when you look at a lot of brands, especially like in the fashion industry, like take like Ralph Lauren, like Polo, for example, like that, they have become as successful as they have by basically giving you a portal into Ralph Lauren's life. And that family, that company lives that lifestyle. And I'm kind of seeing these early seeds of it which is why at the beginning of the show I mentioned about, you know, it's kind of like giving you access into Ice Bagz life a little bit, and you're getting like access into things that maybe you normally wouldn't. Most people aren't sitting in suites in Vegas at Allegiant. You know, most people aren't aren't like throwing down like massive parties in Miami. Like they're just these little unlocks. And it's a different way of extracting value. It's saying like, I'm spent, like you said, I'm spending those same dollars at a golf club. Like, why not spend it on this and get access to things that I wouldn't get? And I think that is like one angle of the whole NFT space that's really interesting. Another angle to me is this. There's really this like, and I talk about this a lot. There's this community capitalism component, and like, what do you do, or like, what have you seen in the space, and just within the community? Like, what level of outreach are you getting from holders? Are they taking on activities in the community to like provide value to the community, or do you find that the majority of them are kind of like sitting and waiting for you to do the next thing?
So I would say right now, a lot of it is there are some that are doing their own thing right within the community. A lot of it right now is what we're providing. Now, as the community grows and matures, like there's going to be a lot more of that, right? Like they can throw all the little one-off events, because what we're providing really are larger experiences, right? Like you said, like not a lot of people get to go and sit in a suite at a UFC event or at a Raiders stadium, because those tickets really aren't available. Either you buy a box for $50,000, or you're just not getting one, or you're paying $4,000 or $5,000 to go sit in a box with somebody with people you don't know, right?
Yeah.
And so we're providing those one-off experiences. What I'd love to see out of the community, and probably what we'll do a lot more going forward, is smaller type events, that aren't as crazy, that aren't as extravagant. But right now, and starting off and building the brand, like we're focused on the bigger stuff, whether it be the box suites, or like we're throwing the insane party at BTC Miami here in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, we rented out a block in Miami, right? And during BTC Miami, which is an insanely like busy week, we've got 2 venues.
Are you doing it in Wynwood? You doing it like?
I'm not sure. It's wherever the Miami Supercars is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
not 100%. But so we've got Toe Jam and we've got Miami Supercars. And so like Toe Jam, I mean, Dead Mouse and people have played there. It's more like nightclub. And then, Miami Supercars is a little more like upscale lounge. And then we've rented out the entire street, and we've got a live band playing in the street. All the food is provided. All the drinks are provided. There'll be beautiful women. Like, it'll be a good time. So right now we're focused on the big like brand building events. Because that's like where, that's where our sponsorships and stuff are too, is we can go to some of these big boys and get them to sponsor the big stuff. They're not necessarily, interested in sponsoring a local event in Dallas or Atlanta,
Sure.
where there's 100 people. But I'd love to see the community kind of take that over right down the road and start hosting. But also, like, we're so young in this, right? Because we just minted out like in September or October of last year. All these other projects, for the most part, had the bull market behind them, right? So they've got a lot more holders. They've got a lot more people that are behind their brand, essentially, and that's great. But we're a younger company. We don't have as many holders right now. Now that will be expanding. Obviously we'll be coming to Solana here in the next probably 3, 4, 5 weeks max. And that'll expand the base quite a bit. And then of course, the more that we get our brand out there, the more eyes that we get on us, et cetera, we'll funnel those people back to the NFT and hopefully continue to grow from there.
Yeah, that's exciting. Rob and I are bear market builders. We first launched the genesis of Hxro, and we started building it in mid 2018. Actually, I think it's actually the 5-year anniversary today of the day that we created the first Hxro entity. Yeah. And but I mean, making it that's like 20 years in crypto years, right? And we built through that first major bear, and then came out of it in 21, had a great run, and then moved down the DeFi path in early 21, and had been building there ever since, and went back to being bear market builders again. Like it's really, it builds a lot of character. It's like guys like us who are all experienced in terms of like running businesses, and you got to do it at that point, because it's kind of like, this is when you plant seeds, and then ideally those seeds blossom when things become fruitful for everybody. So that's super exciting. Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about Jon Jones. Now, I'm a mild MMA fan, not hardcore. a golf buddy of mine a few weeks ago. I was out with him, who is a hardcore MMA fan, and he was, he's guy's in the steel business. He's not even, he's nowhere close to crypto or NFTs. And he was like, he gave me the typical, like, what the fuck are NFTs? Like, my kids don't shut up about them. And we started talking, and I brought Pandas up, and I brought up and the sponsorship, and his fucking jaw hit the floor. Like, he couldn't believe that there was an MMA fighter of that stature that was getting involved with one. So tell me that story. How did that come about? Was he a buddy of yours? Did you have to, like, how did it all happen? And, I think that's given a huge lift to the community, and very interested to hear how that all came about.
For sure. I mean, that's a monster deal, right? I mean, this is the Michael Jordan of MMA. I mean, he's the GOAT. He's greatest ever. I mean, came back after 3 years off and came back and won the heavyweight title. Like, he proved it. I mean, that's conversation closed. So essentially what happened was, our people have wanted us to launch an apparel deal for everybody wants merch. They want hoodies. They want all the stuff. So, they were asking for that stuff back in like September, October. I just kept telling them, look, guys, I'm not launching another fucking hoodie company. If I'm going to do it, like, I'm going to do it right. And I've got an apparel background. I lived in Mexico from 20 to 25 years old and ran a sewing factory. My wife was a buyer for high-end boutiques. She flew to New York, LA, all over the place buying stuff. So I've been in that world before. And essentially we were going to launch probably April, May, June, was kind of our time frame. And then one of my advisors and stakeholders is Malki Kawa, who owns First Round Management. They're based out of Miami. Mm-hmm. They manage 150, 160 athletes from NFL, UFC, other, fighting leagues, whatever it may be. So they called me, said, hey, John's got this fight coming up. He's now going to come back. It's official. He's fighting on March 4th. This was probably February 5th or so. And I said, okay, great. And he's like, would you want to be involved in any kind of deal with him? And I said, well, obviously I would. It's Jon Jones, right? And he's about to fight, the biggest fight that's been seen in the UFC in quite a while. And so we got to discussing, and then he calls me back a couple days later, and he's like, yo, Jon would actually be interested in being an apparel guy. He was looking at because we sent him some mock-ups and stuff, and we hadn't launched anything, right? It was just simply mock-ups. And so we got to talking, and I'm like, well, if that's the case, then we need to get on the phone, right? Because my thing with anybody that I do business with is I don't want to pay anybody $1 to go shill my name or shill my project if they're not really with it, right? So yeah. I was like, I got to talk to Jon on the phone and make sure that he really fucks with the brand. If not, I have no interest in doing this. Good luck, and we'll find somebody else kind of to be the face of the brand. And we got on the phone, spent 45 minutes together, really hit it off. Great conversation. He's like, I love it. I rock with the brand. It's something that I can wear, but it's also something that my family would rock. And that's kind of what's cool about our logo too, is it's represents kind of a degen party brand, but at the same time, it's also very family friendly. I remember the first time I was actually flying to Vegas for the fight on March 4th. And the first time I ever wore the hoodie was I was going through the airport, and I stopped at one of these, restaurants, and this 65-year-old lady that's the hostess there looks at me and goes, I love your sweatshirt. And it was just the OG hoodie with the big, panda head on it. And I was like, all right, this is kind of cool here, because not only does it, do I relate to it and more of the degens that kind of know the background of the brand, but if a 65-year-old lady loves it too and makes a comment about it, we've got something, right?
Yeah, product market fit. Yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And so then when I got to Vegas that weekend, I was there for a full week. We threw a celebrity poker match. We did a whole bunch of stuff that week leading up to it and kind of launching the brand. And we had all of Jon's crew up. I had David Njoku from the Browns come up, some of his buddies, all of Jon's friends, training partners, several UFC guys. And they came into the suite, and we just had all this apparel, right? Because we had just gotten it in, sent it to Vegas. And I'm like, grab whatever you want. We're throwing them hoodies. And dude, they were literally calling me for the next 3 days. They're like, hey, my friend just got in town. Can I swing by and grab a hoodie? And that's when the moment hit me, when I went, okay, this really fucking works. And then we go to Culture Kings, which is probably one of the most iconic streetwear brands, right? I mean, they've got a huge spot at Caesars Forums Palace. And Jon was doing a meet and greet like 2 or 3 days before the fight. And he was wearing the rugged hoodie, and then he wore another t-shirt that we had. And there was probably like 1,500 people in line to meet Jon. And so me and Jon's whole crew and my team are sitting, you know, kind of off to the side where everybody's filtering through the line. And every single person is like, yo, where do they sell this?
Sick.
Like, all these people coming through into Culture Kings are asking us, like, where do we get this stuff? Right. And that's what I'm like, all right. You know, this weekend really told me right now that there's something huge here. And we need to continue to like build with it and run with it. And so that's why we've seen, now you've seen it on, you know, Mike Perry wore it on his shorts. My wife and I just went to Denver and watched the bare knuckle event. And that was a huge deal. Him and Connor faced off in the middle of the ring after, you know, and he's wearing the fucking panda on his shorts, like that kind of stuff right there. Now the fight world, like all the fighters know what it is. Right.
Yep, that's huge. Yep.
And that's huge. I had a buddy on a plane a couple of days ago, and he hit me in the DMs. He's like, yo, this guy was wearing a panda hat. And I said, you know, hey, who are you? And he goes, I got so embarrassed because it was Anthony Pettis, and they were flying to Vegas together. Right. But that's the kind of stuff that like that kind of virality is what, you know, builds the groundwork for an up and coming brand.
Well, and just the ROI on, I mean, look, it's really easy to make an invest. I mean, you can call one of the million sports agencies, and I mean, even when we launched Hxro day one, we actually sponsored. We got an up and coming PGA Tour player to put this. We had that used to have that face logo that actually had the same like crazy panda eyes with the. Actually, I got a tattoo of it right here. But we got this guy to put it. Oh, sick! There you go. We got this guy to put it all on his bag, on his shirt, and he did it all for, you know, for a relatively small amount at the time, but it's really easy to do that. But like to actually get real ROI out of it, it's tough. And I think probably you going and like, you know, getting to know Jon a little bit up front, knowing that he was going to actually wear this and not just like wear it for a paycheck. You know, definitely made a huge difference.
It makes a huge difference, right? And the difference of like going after like an up and comer, right, versus going after the top. Because if you can go to the top and make them buy in, all the younger guys that strive to be those guys want to fuck with it.
Yep, 100%.
I'd love to hear. I mean, you know, you got into crypto in 2018, and I know, like, you know, I'd love to hear what got you into crypto, if it was like, you know, the idea of Bitcoin and decentralized networks, and then how you, like, if there was one moment in time where it like clicked for you about NFTs and like really where your mind just went kind of nuts and saw this opportunity to really dig in there.
For sure. I mean, I've got the typical story. You know, my brother told me to buy Bitcoin at $500. You know, I didn't listen, got in early in 18. I think it was like when it went from like 20 to 6 and then bounced to 10. I kind of shoved at 10 thinking, okay, we're going right back into the bull market, but bad idea. Cause it dropped, I think, to 3 after that. And so I got my teeth kicked in there, and it was like, I don't know, man, there's something addictive about crypto that you just can't fucking leave. It's like, I say this about CT all the time. Like, you're trapped, man. Once you get in, and I don't even think you have to make a lot of money, right? Like once you just get into the culture of it and live it and experience it, it's like you're stuck. So
I actually think that it's like Pareto principle, where like 98% of the people actually make no money, and they spend 100% of their time on just being on crypto Twitter and being in the group. And it's like a Maslowian base need. It's like they're a part of something that's larger than them that they can identify. And there's something for everybody. You can be a fucking keyboard warrior, an absolute like piece of shit, low level troll if you want. You can be a high moral standard threader about like the power of decentralization. It doesn't matter. There's something for everybody. There's pretty.
Sometimes I do all 3 of those like in a week.
Yeah.
I have a few drinks and just pick one.
I've seen you go to town on people, man. It's pretty impressive, actually. So.
Yeah, I probably need to chill, but it is what it is. Like I'm not changing at 41.
Exactly.
But yeah, so I got in like at 18. you know, and stuck around. I made a lot of friends through it. Started meeting those guys in real life, and some of my best friends are, you know, in a group, and there's like 15 of us, and we travel everywhere together. We do the boys trips, you know, and then that's like, there's this weird spot in your life, like where, especially when you make a good amount of money, that a lot of your friends and people that have been around you for a long time can't necessarily jump and go to Vegas on the weekend, right? Like, and you just fly out the next day. Like, it's normal for a lot of us. And so you tend to find new friends that can, where you pick up the phone and say, hey, you know, can you roll to Vegas? Yeah, I'll be on a fucking flight, you know, tomorrow morning. And so crypto kind of affords that, because it casts a wider network of friends. And then you know, obviously you whittle down that, you know, just like in real life friends. And so I've made a really good, solid core of people. They're all good guys. They're all, you know, they're in the space 24/7 like I am. And it's one of those things, like when you live in this space, you can't really explain it to anybody else. Like, nobody wants to listen to that shit. I don't want to sit here and talk about crypto to non-crypto people, right? And I know they don't want to hear it either. So you gotta have some kind of an outlet to people that do. And I think that's where we find like commonalities within crypto Twitter specifically.
It's tricky because when you get away from it, you find yourself in situations with non-crypto people, and you absolutely have nothing to say.
So
I think I've reached that point almost, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a lot of good friends, and we just talk about life stuff, right? Like, I don't want to hear about your sales stuff, and you don't want to hear about my crypto stuff. So let's just talk about the kids. Let's talk about the fucking ball game. Let's talk about what's going on and current events, whatever it may be, right? Just normal conversation stuff. So, but NFT specifically, it was probably right around the time, I think it was like a couple of weeks before like Beeple had his big sale, right? And I had jumped in and bought I think I swept a bunch of crypto punks or something, just because I was like, okay, this makes sense from a kind of a legacy standpoint of what this could potentially be. But the biggest thing for me was, like, I've got a 9-year-old son. He just turned 9. He's huge into Minecraft and huge into Roblox, right? And so I'm constantly swiping this credit card over and over and over so that he can buy these new skins. Same thing.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable to the point where, like, I'm having to explain all the time, like, we are burning money on this stuff. I will give you the same money. Let's go buy stuff that is going to last, that you actually own. I mean, it's Roblox specifically in my household has just been, it's unbelievable. Like, the amount of money they want to spend on that stuff.
Roblox is an absolute fucking cash cow, right? It's addictive to them.
Yes.
They like to have all the new skins so that they can flex a different outfit every day or every 10 minutes, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
That's what in my head went, holy shit, there's something here, right? And if you look at like what we built with the PP decks and the other stuff, it's all built around a similar model as Roblox, right? You've got a point system instead of Robux.
Yep.
You've got a panda builder where you can go in and buy items and change the metadata and do all these things. I mean, it was all spurred from like the Roblox business model, which we know works. And so that's what we spent I'll back up a little bit. So when I guess probably about 6 months into the project, I said, okay, this is great. This membership pass access to crazy events is awesome, but it's very limiting in a sense, right? Even though there's only 10,000 of them, 5 years from now, that would be a standalone business in itself, you know, as you spread to more people. But we need another aspect of the business that can attract other users that don't necessarily want to go to a football game or have location issues, whatever it may be. So let's build something really fucking cool that stands alone on the Web3 side as well. And that's what we spent the last 6 months, I guess, building out the point system, building out the PP decks. And if you look at the PP decks, it's essentially a marketplace. It's a Panda Lab. It's a raffle system. And then it's also a casino, sportsbook, and poker room all tied to it. So the points all work within this system, right? So you accrue points on a daily basis based on your rarity. You can then go to the sports book and place bets. You can go to the poker room and play against your friends. You can then go into the marketplace and you can buy items. You can take it into the Panda Lab. You know, you can buy a new shirt or a new hat or new traits, whatever we release at the time. And then we also included a system. We created a system called dynamic rarity. We said, okay, it'd be really cool if like it becomes a game within a game essentially. And depending on how you spend your points, you can level up your panda, right? So we created like 102 tiers from top to bottom. One of ones are at the very top. They earn the most on a daily rate. They can't be passed. So they're in a category of themselves, and then infinities, and then aliens, and then zombies, and then golds. So those unique body styles that are more rare essentially can jockey between themselves, but they can't pass up to the next level. But that also leaves 90% of the collection that could potentially go from the very bottom all the way up to that, that 89th percentile of like point earning, right? So it becomes like this. There's a lot of game theory involved. We made it fun. I think we put in, specific caps in there where it's not necessarily a whales game. But there's so much that we're going to do with this down the road that's going to be fucking insane. Like we're going to drop our first HFS, which is our holy fucking shit tier. So when you buy these items, it goes from just like Roblox, it's common items or any other game, Call of Duty, common items, and then it's rare, and then it's ultra rare, and then HFS is the very top. So it's gonna be very limited supply, very expensive to get. We can start mixing in physicals into this kind of stuff too. I don't know if you saw, but I had like a panda. I had my jeweler build out like a panda diamond pendant with the logo on it. That's really sick. So now we can use those kind of physicals and then also turn them into traits, right? So now the panda's rocking the diamond chain. That person owns the diamond chain. It's a little bit of a flex online. So there's all kinds of stuff that we can do there. But then we also built out the raffle system. And so now with the raffle system, you can go in and put your points in. So like one of the things that we did that I'm shocked more people haven't, but like we bought 20 loud punks. I'm like, that's a great fucking idea, right? It's rolling loud. You get a VIP pass for every single event. So I bought 20 loud punks, and then now we have 20 VIP passes to every single event that Rolling Loud does. So our people can go into the PP decks, they can spend points in a raffle, they can win a ticket, didn't cost them anything. Now they have a VIP pass, to Miami Rolling Loud or Rotterdam Rolling Loud or whatever. And then we've also included 2 of our suite tickets going forward. So like 2 tickets to every Raiders game will now be, raffled off with panda points. So that's real inherent value now that's being driven back to the holder. And it's only going to get crazier from here as we drive other revenue streams. Like some people will say, oh, well, how does being an apparel company benefit me, right? Or how does doing this benefit me? Well, it does when we drive revenue. And now all of a sudden we're adding more stuff into this raffle section and into the marketplace that you can buy with points, right? And the more revenue that we drive, the crazier that those events get, the crazier that stuff goes. And now you're earning fucking panda points for free and you're buying all these items. And there's a lot more down this road I could go into, but I'm not going to because it's just something that we're constantly building. But the PP Dex is going to be fucking monster by the time we get done with it.
I don't know about you guys. I just want to play Baccarat on it. That's all I fucking care about.
Man, I hear you.
No, I fucking love it. I kind of, when I think about NFTs, and I'm a kind of derivatives and markets nerd. I have, my concentration there and obsession with markets has kind of made me miss out on a lot of the NFT explosion. So I just, I truly appreciate your vision with what you're doing with the pandas. I'm like curious as to what, technically you said Omni-chain, right? And that to me just struck me as, oh, first off, I love it. I'm a multi-chain believer. I'm not a maxi of anything, but I am a lover of many things. I think there's so much value in a lot of these networks. But, talk to me about the Omni-chain and how that kind of came about. And then we can go into Solana a little bit because we're lucky here in with Hxro Labs and the team, how forward thinking and visionary they are with a lot of the things you were talking about with the traits and different protocols. So can you talk to me about like the Omni-chain nature of things and how it came to be and your thoughts on the importance of really embracing multi-chain rather than being a maxi of any sort?
Yeah. First off, I just think being a maxi of anything is moronic. Whether it be an NFT project, whether it be a protocol, whether it be a token, it's stupid. It's cultish behavior. I'm not here to, and I'm the same way with, like with my NFT project. I'm like, I'm not your cult leader. I'm building something really fucking cool. And if you want to come along for the ride, and if you want to like go to sick events and have fun, then jump on board. Right. But I'm not here to like hype you up 24/7. It's not my style, not what I'm building. But yeah, so essentially when I took over the project, it was spiraling out of control. It was broken contracts, all kinds of shit. And so I just reached out and said, hey, who wants to help me on this thing? I'm taking over. And Primo from Layer Zero hit me up like literally within 10 minutes and said, yo, let's do this. And so I said, look, fuck it, let's do it. So Ghostly Ghost was like the first Omni-chain project that launched using Layer Zero tech. And it was like a couple of days before I kind of reached out. And so that's immediately we started building it out. But the beautiful thing about Omni-chain is, they can move their NFTs anywhere they want, right? And they can use the bridges and it gives them the freedom to move. It's, to me, that's decentralization, right? It's not trapping somebody on a chain. Whether it be ETH, Polygon, AVAX, it doesn't matter. So the beautiful thing about this is like, if somebody wants to say, for example, we're launching on Solana, right? And once Layer Zero creates that bridge and it's done, all of our people can move to Solana immediately. So if the liquidity is there in Solana and the demand is in Solana, they can move there, right? So I look at it in two ways. One is downside protection, which I don't think people think about enough. Even after the fucking FTX fiasco and everything else, right?
Yeah.
That could happen to a major chain. That could happen to a major chain. They could go defunct. They could go broke and stop working. And then what are you going to do with all your stuff? Right? You're stuck. Yeah. And so downside protection is a major thing, because if it does happen, you can move immediately. Upside protection or upside, we don't know yet, but I can come up with some ideas like, okay, what if somebody launches a chain next year and it becomes the NFT hub, right? Then you want to be on that chain, right? And then so Layer Zero builds a bridge and there we go. And now you can be over there and enjoy that liquidity. We don't have to go just launch collection after collection after collection and be a fucking money suck. Like you can have the original collection wherever you want to go. And to me, that's the beautiful thing about it.
Yep. And also like you're tapping into multiple communities. I mean, 100%. Like people prefer being in different places and it can overlap. And I agree. It does seem silly to be beholden to one place, one chain, when there truly is a world of multiple chains with users that are distributed between them. So
I agree.
I know you've been big in markets and big in kind of the gaming and betting area. What's your take on the evolution of like the liquidity and the universe of NFTs? You say your first kind of move was to kind of sweep the floor on some punks, but like, what's your take on the last, I guess, call it 2 to 3 years of this market evolution? And where do you see it going?
So it's obviously evolving very quickly, right? We've seen that with Blur, adding liquidity incentives, adding, the ability to lend on a large scale. I mean, we'll see how that plays out. I've talked to the guys at Blur about this. I guess I'm one of those that probably just wants to sit back and wait and see how it plays out, because they're testing it as well, right? They're just trying to see what works. Are there, is it advantageous to the market? Is it not? Is it detrimental? It's too early to tell. I know people, scream about, providing liquidity and floors going down, et cetera, et cetera. And then all of a sudden, floors going back up, with the blend protocol, as they're added on there, is lending, a high beta asset to a high beta asset, the smartest move in the end to a bunch of degenerates? We'll find out. Like, stay tuned, right? But I think if we're going to advance the market, like, we have to test these things. Does it end up in a disaster? A year from now, we'll see. But the market is the market. It'll always find its ground. It'll find a new path. So I'm just a firm believer overall in just open markets and let people do what they want. Like, you can't blame one company for doing something new and reckon other companies. Like, it's
that's
what the people wanted.
the business we're in, right?
It's what the people wanted. It's every business.
That's right.
But
Yeah.
I'll also say this, the royalty thing is like a big debate, right? So the royalty thing, they're now both at 0.5%. I've been in a similar battle, on kind of a local business level where, my competitor was offering customers, a lower commission rate. And then we would offer a lower commission rate, and then they would offer a lower commission rate. And then we finally kind of realized, guys, there's no fucking point in doing this. We're just chopping our own balls off, and we both need to make money, right? So then you settle on something. So I think that's what we're going to see happen with the wars on royalties. Is like it is hurting a lot of creators, and especially the smaller creators. I think probably they eventually both kind of find a common ground, and maybe it's not 5 and 8% royalties like it was before, but maybe it's 3 or 4%, and they find a common ground for creator and buyer. But I do think that shakes out just because we've seen these battles go on before, and eventually, either one goes out of business or two, both parties just find a common ground.
I'd argue that most buyers are not fee sensitive. Like I don't think it's been a thing I don't think it's as big a deal if you really took people in the moment. Like when somebody is buying an NFT, they could give a shit, in my opinion, because I know this person, and I've been a trader for 30 years. Like I look at every single penny on a trade, right? Like a fee, anything, like bid offer, like because I'm trying to scrape some low margin out of it, right? But the reality is that when I go to buy an NFT, I don't give a shit if I'm being charged 3% or 5%. It's not like I'm also not looking to scalp it. So it's almost being driven by people that are like scalping floors, or that are automating it, which like it's an interesting question of like a general market formation. Like, is that a value add to the NFT space or not? Like,
I think that's the question, right? Is it or not? I think we're going to find that out. I personally, I just look at it from my collections viewpoint, right? And we're really building something here. It's probably not a huge value add to have people flipping our shit over and over and over again, right? It's just not. We're looking for people that actually want to be part of the community, part of the brand, and grow with us. So, it may not be. Is the liquidity nice for people that are looking to get out quickly? Yeah. But are digital collectibles, supposed to be traded like tokens? I personally don't think so, but we'll find out.
Well, it's kind of the thing is like, if you're doing that, why not just trade tokens? Hell of more liquidity there, right?
100%. And then
if it's just a widget to you, what's the difference?
Right, 100%. Like if you don't have any tie to it, and you're not trying to be part of the community or part of what like they're building, go flip meme coins. And that's what we've seen. Like it sucked out a lot of liquidity over the last couple of weeks. I mean, even from, some of the majors like Pepe and some of the other ones have sucked out a lot of liquidity because a lot of the NFT people have gotten involved, right? Because NFTs got boring again, and all of a sudden they need their fix.
That's right. So on that note, I'm in the camp that the meme coin, hot ball of money moving is what perpetuates, is like usually at the bottom of the cycle. It's what moves. People will start to get tired of flipping the memes. And then they're like, and there's also the psychological thing of once people start to make a little money, suddenly they become more sophisticated. And they're like, oh, I need things that have actual like tangible value to them. And like, they kind of forget where they came from. Right. So, but that also in a positive way for crypto, like generally perpetuates that hot ball of money moving into new things, or moving into other parts of the market that eventually can start pushing a rally. Now, I know there's different headwinds existing today. You're not in this like pure QE world where money's just falling from the sky. It's definitely a different macro environment, which like when I got into crypto, to like get away from the macro narrative, not go back to it. And like, here we are again, Jesus fucking Christ. But, it's interesting to me. Like, do you think that things like meme coin trading, like I think they're a net value add. I think they are kind of what can get momentum going in the crypto space as a whole. What's your position on it?
I simply don't care. Like I don't pay a whole lot of attention to it. I don't really get involved in it. I never have. Just not my type of investing. And if I want to go gamble, I'm just going to go gamble on a basketball game instead. and
Right.
and enjoy my time with it instead of hawking over a chart and worry if I get rugged or not. It's just not my thing. And believe me, I'm about as degenerate as it gets when it comes to gambling and other stuff. But it's just that's not my fix. I don't know, man. It feels like I feel like it's one of those things where 98% of the people end up with all the money anyway.
2% end up with 98%, right?
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know necessarily how much money's left over to flow into other projects, to be honest. I think we'll see. To me, it feels like one of those bear market rally types deals where like everything's gotten so boring that people just went and just fucking degenerately gambled as hard as they could, like with what they had remaining. And there'll be a handful of people that made it out, unscathed. There'll be a lot of people that, look at Doggy Coin Millionaire guy or whatever the fuck he is. Like, there's going to be a lot of those too, right? Where they bought a shit ton of Pepe and, they wrote it up to 5-6 million and then they're adding on the way down. Like, it's just, it happens every fucking cycle.
Every fucking cycle. Have you ever, we were talking about this yesterday at the office. Have you ever met anybody that actually that went into an absolute shit, like meme coin, like a Pepe or even like Doge back in the day and actually cashed out for a significant amount of money?
No,
not one, right? They don't exist.
No. I think, but I always say this, like, I'm way too mid curve and all my friends are way too mid curve to like enjoy these kind of cycles. Like, I know some guys that have made some money, don't get me wrong, but no, I don't know any of the guys that threw in for $400 and pulled out 7 figures.
Yeah. I have not met one to date. No Dogecoin, no Pepe coin, no anything else that come rocket, doesn't fucking matter. Like, have not met one that's kept it.
I think when it comes to meme coins and NFTs, I am like left curve. I am just like, I don't get it. Not one bit of it. So
then you should start buying.
I will tell you, it's so what I like to hear, what I like to see about what you're doing with the pandas is it really, you're bringing value, you're bringing utility, you're bringing a reason like to own these things. I would feel like rather than just, sticking my thumb in the air and testing the win, like I would want to be a part of a community, a part of a network, part of like, holding this NFT that is, led by a group. And I don't know, when you talk about I don't know who, like how many people are surrounding you and what this, what the core kind of community looks like. I'd be curious to hear about it, but it reminds me of like the second and third generation of tokens, right? The first tokens were like pure fucking vapor. It's like the only reason they went up or down was from buying and selling in markets. And now, right? I mean, for real. And now there's actually like with tokens and networks and NFTs, there are real models and real kind of reasons to own things and like, to be a part of things. So that's really like what I'm seeing is this, this next generation. I don't know if you would say this is like the second generation or third, but it just starting to make more sense to me. And that's
it's a much more matured product. You're right. And the funny thing is like, it just doesn't have the hype because it doesn't have the gambling factor to it, I guess, because we're like, hey, this is what we're doing. And then we do it. And then we say, hey, this is what we're doing. And we do it. Right. People want a roadmap with a gazillion pictures on it. And they go, oh, that could be this, this, and this. Right. And that's kind of what drives the hype and the gambling of a lot of projects. And we just don't provide that. We don't provide that. Yeah. We're like, hey, what we're building is going to be really fucking big and really cool. And we hope you be a part, you'll be a part of it. But we're going to tell you up front exactly what we're doing step by step. And then we're going to achieve that. Where, some of the projects that have done well or been successful in the past, it's like, hey, we're going to throw out vague shit over and over again and then hope that you guys just clamor over it and come up with ideas and then fuel off of each other. Just like these shitcoin Telegram chats. Like if you go into those, this is going to happen and this is going to happen. And guess who the dev is? And it's so-and-so and it's not, you know what I mean? And so it all burns out. So the thing is like, I'm not concerned about short-term stuff. When you guys were talking about building in the bear, like when I built my biggest business that I still own today, my wife was pregnant. I didn't have a fucking pot to piss in. We sat down at the dining room table. I had gotten sick of sales. I was good at it. I had done well in it, but like it wasn't for me. And working for somebody else. And so we sat down and drew out, a business plan. And I think the first year of that business, I made like $32,000. And then the second year I made like $55,000. And guys, I'm telling you, I worked 24/7. Like, I mean, I still do today. I still do on this NFT project. Right. But there was no dividends that quickly played out. And, I look at this the same way. Like, I'm not concerned about short-term floor prices. Like, I hate it for our holders. I wish it would just all skyrocket so everybody could have a party in Telegram and Discord all day. But like, what I'm focused on is like building something that's going to benefit the community. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, sustainability. That's going to build the, that's going to be there for the community, 3, 4, 5 years from now, and that's going to drive like actual value back for them, right? And so that's that's my focus. That's all I can do is say, hey, I'm going to keep grinding. I'm going to make sure that's successful. And then, as you touched on earlier, like you were talking about, the team. I mean, to me, this is one of the bigger things that just says, like, this is legit. Is if you look at my stakeholders and advisory board, like we've got Steve Espinosa. He was digital, media guy for Trump and Obama White Houses. He's been on the cover of Fast Inc. We've got Steve Cohen. A lot of these projects are like, oh, we signed a deal with, United Talent Agency or this person. Well, Steve Cohen's a general partner at United Talent Agency and runs their Southeast division, right? He's got connections to everybody. We've got First Round Management. They manage over 150 athletes. We've got, Alex Miningham, who's runs his own, LP fund with his partners, who's been in the tech, industry for a while. Those are like legitimate heavy hitters at the pinnacles of their professions. They wouldn't buy into a fucking NFT project with everything that we've seen over the last like 12 months with everybody getting sued and hammered and, essentially castrated online. Like, they wouldn't do that if they didn't believe in like myself and my team and what we're building, right? Because those are heavy hitters that they don't have any reason to put their name on the line unless they actually think that there's a big payday at the end of the road and it's a legitimate business.
Yeah. No, listen, we amen to all of that. And Rob and I from day one, building Hxro, and it's always been the long-term goal is to just build, especially once we moved into the DeFi side of things, is to utilize a lot of the tools that we've either created or that others have created, like just in terms of just the technological evolution of things, to create more of a sustainable ecosystem. And I think part of you kind of know you can measure success partially on your ability to like back away from it and just let it be a machine that's running. And you see projects that do that even in the DeFi space, like not even just in NFTs. Like I've yet to see an NFT project. Like you're definitely headed down that path where it outgrows its founders. And I think that is like a huge measure of success. Like the day that Ice Bagz can back off from Kanpai Pandas and just be this like overarching kind of the founder that's like got his picture up on the wall. It doesn't matter whether you're there or not. That's when you've kind of hit it, right?
You hit a really great point there. And a lot of the people in this space don't understand this point because they're too young. They haven't had enough experience in that. But like when you're building your own business, you are the business. Absolutely. Right? You have to be there. You're the face of the business. You don't have any trust from clients or outsiders if you're not there on a daily basis. When I knew I made it was when I said, okay, I can go take 3 months off and go play golf. And my business with over 100 employees and hundreds of clients just self-sustains. That's when I said, yes, I finally fucking made it because I don't have to be there every day. And then now it still runs on its own. And I haven't been there for, 3-4 years at all. Right. So it's just, it works. And that's 100% right. Is you made it when you don't have to be the face of the business anymore.
Amazing. I think that, and then what you were saying at the beginning, like I tweeted this a few weeks ago. I think like that, being a founder is like less than a minimum wage job. Like you get zero. It's pure optionality at the end of the day. You get zero until you don't. And if you're doing it with a high moral ground, you're probably going to be the last guy on the ship also. So you're bearing all that risk also. So it definitely is a lot, and it's good to have other people in the industry like yourselves that like yourself that has been through it. It's not your first rodeo. It's it's a new paradigm for you, but using a lot of the tools that you've learned. You like all of us, you've been kicked in the nuts before, and
100%.
you just they get a little more callous each time you get kicked, and you
I've been through it all. I've seen it all. I've had business partners screw me over. I mean, I've run the gauntlet, right? And that's one of the things that people don't seem to quite understand in the NFT market is like, and it's not a slight to anybody. It's not a slight to the young guys because there's some really young superstars in the crypto space. But in general, you have to have a little bit of experience behind you if you're going to carry a big company and really be able to build something special, because there's so many things that come up that we've seen before that other people haven't, right? Because you've been through it, you're able to navigate, the downside a lot better because you've been there,
Absolutely.
You don't always, you haven't just been bull market up only. And you've seen, I've seen multiple bear markets, right? So, that experience is invaluable and comes in handy no matter what business you're going into and building at that time.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
I think, going back to the, the meme coin, and whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's the beginning or end of a cycle, I think the one thing that gets me excited always about when I see like that meme coin season and you actually see that it's palpable, the excitement of people like really getting behind something. It just reminds me that just wait. When you get that sort of excitement behind stuff that actually is building value, meaningful network effects, look the fuck out. Like that's when you get into meme coin like excitement and value building where finally stuff just gets repriced. And you know what? Its price is determined by the amount of true value it's building. So like I think that there's a lot of real valuable networks and NFT communities and assets and things here that are building tremendous real value now. And we're gonna see when you get that meme coin type of excitement in these assets, and it's going to be look out.
Well, that's what I'm hoping is coming. That's mentioning that like that hot ball of money coming out of meme coins, like is there a narrative that can get picked up? Are there enough founders in the space that have voices publicly that can come out and just say, look, like you have to start looking at these things as like there's some metric that has to do with long-term sustainability and flywheels and like actual putting numbers to it, and then saying like how this accrues value. Like you can dump this onto a spreadsheet and formulate like what this thing should be worth based on that. Like a Kanpai Panda, based on what that community is producing in terms of value, should have a value attached to it. Like, and I think that it's gonna get there eventually, and it just is gonna be a function of time. I'm looking forward to the day when that happens, because I think we're all building things that are accruing value to a network, have flywheels that are long-term sustainable. And I think that's where this is going. We're coming up on an hour here. One more question I have is, I want to know where PPDEX is going to go. Are we seeing it as kind of the free to play game site with the other, just the merch and everything? Are we gonna see a Isle of Man license eventually? Are we gonna see something fun coming out of it where it's gonna get into real money gaming? Like we have degens in the Hxro community. I'm sure they want to know as well.
Yeah. So if you look at it in general, I mean, we've already started adding a ton of products to the raffle system, right? So now you've got some kind of value there. I don't want to place anything on it. You got some kind of value there with your points, because now you can go in there right now and buy, VIP passes to Rolling Loud. You can get sweet tickets with your points. You can get, Roy Jones Jr. signed boxing gloves. And we're just going to continue to add and build that out. So it becomes essentially like a loyalty program with really insane, products that you can purchase with your Panda points. Now, I'm not going to go too far down the line as to what's, in store, I guess, in the next couple of years. But if you look at it, there's a lot of stuff being set up. And I mean, everything was strategically done to take advantage of several different markets, right? Like you've got a casino there that you've got, you know, a point system set up for. You got a centralized point system that we're going to have all the data on that essentially would be the best token, because we've had, you know, so much use of it, and we can track and kind of play with it in a centralized way. You know, I think we get too caught up in general in decentralization and a lot of different aspects, and especially with NFT projects, like everything doesn't need a coin immediately, you know, a token immediately. Everything doesn't need to be extremely decentralized. And I think we get caught up in that too much. And so that's why I was like, screw this. Let's build it out in a centralized manner. Like we can always change things later if we need to, but there's certain aspects of our business model that don't necessarily need to be on chain.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, look, this has been great. You know, I think from the Hxro angle, we're excited to see Pandas hit Solana or coming to Solana. I think there's, you know, you and I have already discussed some things that, some ways that Hxro and Pandas can start collaborating. We got some ideas that hopefully we'll be putting forth publicly fairly soon. And you know, I think also along the lines of just the things that are going on with PPDEX, I think there's going to be some other things that, you know, some other paths in terms of the stuff that we build in Hxro Network that I think is going to converge and play nicely. So we're excited to have you there. Excited to have you on the show. I mean, it's you're a real asset to the industry, man, and been great having you. And finally, we got to do it. We fucked up the last one technically, and here we are back at it. So all good and great having you. And that's all I got. Anybody got anything else, or we signing off?
Yeah, I just say I appreciate you guys having me on. Like it's always a pleasure to talk to real builders. Especially people that have done it inside and outside of crypto. Like to me, that's where I always find a connection. So it's always a pleasure to do that. Congratulations to you guys on 5 years. You know, that's a big fucking milestone. And you know, in any industry, it's a huge milestone in the crypto industry.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. So that's all we got, guys, today. Thanks for joining DeltaFi. And I don't know what RT usually says, but we're fucking out of here. So
yeah.
that's all we got. Take us out, Vic.